Okay, I think we are ready to get started. So Ellie, I've made you co-host in case we have technical issues my end.
Yep, I noticed.
All right, and we have everyone who's joining us, don't we? We're just short on Rick again. Yeah. All right, you ready, Mr. Chairman?
Go.
All right. The April 15, 2021 meeting of the Yarmouth Conservation Commission is about to be convened. As a precautionary measure to reduce the spread of coronavirus, all town buildings are closed to the public. Therefore, this meeting will be held by remote participation. My name is Kelly Grant. I will be moderating participation for this meeting. I will now turn it over to the chair.
Thank you, Kelly. My name is Ed Hoops. I'm the chairman of the Yarmouth Conservation Commission. I'll begin by taking a roll call for quorum. David Bernstein.
Here.
Rick Bishop is not here. Tom Durkin.
Here.
Ed Hoops is here. Paul Huggins.
Here.
Ellie Lawrence.
Here.
And Patricia Mulhern.
Here.
Right, with a quorum present, 6 of 7, I will now call the meeting to order. I'll now ask that the moderator explain how remote participation works. Kelly.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Yarmouth Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings as provided for in the order. Persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching via this virtual meeting or the live feed on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel. You may also listen to the meeting by dialing into the number provided on the notice of meeting. Please be patient as we work to overcome any technological challenges. To reduce confusion, all participants are muted by the moderator. As participants are called upon to speak, they will be unmuted. Applicants can use the raise hand button or press *9 on their phone to identify themselves to the chair. The meeting host will then unmute applicants when they are called upon to speak. During the portion of the hearing designated for public comment, the chair or moderator will ask who in the audience has any public comments or questions. Members of the public attending virtually will be able to make their comments using the raise hand button within the virtual meeting. If you are dialed into the phone number provided, you can press *9 on your phone to indicate that you would like to comment. Please wait for the chairman to recognize you before speaking. Members of the public who wish to provide comment are asked to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation for the public record and then provide the comment. Prior to concluding opportunities for discussion, comment or question, the chair will ask a final time if anyone wishes to speak on the matter. All votes must be roll call votes. After a motion is made and there is a second, the chair will ask the moderator to take and report the roll call vote. All motions, decisions, documents and letters will be verbally read into the record. If it appears the meeting cannot or should not proceed, then the moderator will recommend that the chair request to continue the hearing to a later date and time or until public meetings can resume normally. I will now hand the meeting back to the chair. You are muted, Ed.
I am, and you would think I'd know that. Let me get right into the first agenda item, which is a stormwater bylaw permit application. Josh Burdett, Workshop Road Solar Project 2019 LLC, 47 Workshop Road, Yarmouth, Massachusetts. Proposed development of an approximate 2.95 acre ground-mounted photovoltaic energy facility at the existing Town of Yarmouth septic treatment facility property. And who do we have here for this?
We may have more. I think we've got a couple of people in the audience. If you could raise your hands and I will unmute you. Hi, Greg, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi. Did you want to share slides at your end and I will just promote you to a panelist? Or
So Josh Burdett, if he's on,
okay.
Should be the lead on this.
Yep, I've unmuted him as well. So
I'm here. Hi, Kelly.
Hi. Let me promote you to panelist. Do you have the plans that you want to share? Or otherwise I have a copy that I can share at my end.
Yeah, you have the same copy that I do.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm willing to go through a few slides too, if that's if that's appropriate, or we can stick to the plan set that was submitted.
Okay, if you have the slides ready, then they'll be the slides that we used at the site plan review.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be useful. So I'll promote you to panelists so you can share those. Okay. I'll just stop sharing. You should be able to share now.
How's that?
Yep, that looks good.
There
Can
we go.
everyone see that? Yeah.
Okay, Kelly, do you want me to go through the whole thing with the introduction as well, or just, is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, just I guess a brief overview of the project, and then just focus in on the stormwater.
Sure, and then I'll probably have Kayla from Tetra Tech chime in on some technicalities here for stormwater. But thank you all for having us tonight. We've met the project team who's on the line. Greg Wissink is from Tetra Tech. Kayla Gagno is from Tetra Tech. There are partners, civil engineer of record and consultants working on this project with us to a DSD. Who are we? Distributed Solar Development, short for DSD. We're a solar development company, and we provide turnkey PV solutions to our clients, which are enterprises, commercial businesses, municipalities like the town of Yarmouth, and that's nationwide. We have approximately over 130 projects in our national scope track record that have been constructed. We have collectively, through our team, about over 3 gigawatts of collective solar experience. Some of that experience to date has been deployed in over 12 megawatts of solar in Massachusetts. And we are working with the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, CVEC for short, through RFP submissions, just like the town of Yarmouth submitted for this project, to construct solutions, solar plus storage, on sites that are identified by the municipalities. And we've done that in Brewster and Sandwich, Harwich, Orleans, and Mashpee, in addition to Yarmouth. We have current projects that are canopy projects and rooftop projects in construction and finished with construction, actually, in Sandwich, Brewster, and in Harwich. So the project overview, this project is, again, based on this RFP from CVEC in conjunction with the town in fall of 2019. This is a 499 kilowatt AC canopy ground mount system. I'm sorry, not canopy, ground mounted system. That's a typo. It encompasses approximately 2.95 acres of the property. 100% of the power at this point is quote unquote behind the meter and going straight into the septic treatment facility in the form of on-bill savings to the town. And we have a 20 plus year project lease associated with this project. In terms of direction, we had our formal site plan review last week with town staff. There were no major concerns highlighted at that meeting, but we do have several rounds of kind of administrative comments to address, which we shall moving forward here. Tonight, stormwater management permit and from the Conservation Commission. And we have continuing communication with the town in terms of our contracts and Eversource in terms of the group study results that this project is entered into at this point. We anticipate results from that group study to be given to us in July of this year. And then we will move forward with the building permit process at the end of the summer. would have been some design considerations until this point. Our site access is provided by Workshop Road. Our point of interconnection location is just south of the main building. You'll see all this when we look at the site plan, which has also been provided in your packets, which is, both the access and the POI location are easily accessible for emergency vehicles. We have a previous Board of Health approval for tree clearing within a 100-foot buffer, which was issued as an exemption from the 1987 BOH Condition 34, which was present on the property. There's no significant on-site grading proposed. This gets a little bit more into what we're talking about tonight between stormwater and erosion sediment control. There is tree felling that's going to take place to make way for the array itself and the fence. And, we'll see that on the plan as well. And, we're planning on using the existing stormwater flow paths off of the Mid-Cape Highway, as well as, which fall onto the surface, which the array is proposed on itself right now. And, our BMP is essentially to establish a permanent ground cover, native vegetative permanent ground cover, once the array is installed. We have a 7-foot high perimeter fence for our site security, and we're not located within any natural or cultural resource protection areas aside from the Aquifer Protection District. The proposed equipment on this project are monocrystalline panels with anti-reflective coating. This is typical solar modules that you would see on any type of commercial or residential installation that are, pretty prominent on the Cape. The racking system is a steel system that's pile driven into the ground. We have a series of string inverters throughout the array, which convert the electricity produced by the panels from direct current to alternating current that can be fed into the transformer, which is pad mounted and will be just south of the building, as we'll see in the proposed layout here. So we see the existing septic treatment building and Workshop Road that kind of wraps the existing buildings from the east and to the north and then back down. And our proposed layout is to the north and northeast of this building, with our fixed tilt modules facing south, and our steel racking just being again into the ground surface, penetrating into the ground surface. You can see the dimensions over on the western array block and the eastern array block, which have been incorporated into the stormwater management calculations that have been prepared by Tetra Tech. So I think, Kayla, if you wanted to add any color to what we've proposed here from a stormwater perspective, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay? Josh touched on it, but the biggest component here is the existing stormwater infiltration basin that's being utilized. The project itself doesn't add very much, if at all, in impervious surface. The vegetation and ground cover underneath the panels will still allow for the existing hydrology of the site to be maintained and allow for infiltration, but there is several areas of tree clearing proposed for this. So the existing stormwater basin was analyzed to ensure capacity in handling this increase in runoff from the tree clearing that's proposed. And that's been captured in the SWMP. In addition to the existing features, there's also erosion and sediment control features proposed for the during construction portion of this project, silt fence around the project itself, and protection of the catch basin inlets. And just to help with overall sediment and erosion control during construction, and then the post-development infiltration basin for the life of the project.
Yep, and if folks can see it, I just brought up, this is a form of a drainage map that's provided in the SWMP. However, this delineation hasn't been
Josh,
provided.
we
This is
can
what,
only see your proposed layout, I think.
oh, is it? Not based on my screen, sorry. Let me stop share and reshare. Oh, that didn't do it. Sorry, folks, bear with me 1 second. You see the form of the drainage map? Is that better? Potentially.
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. Kayla, you want to just, this is what Kayla alluded to, folks, in terms of the existing infiltration basin that's kind of delineated here in this red hatch, where you have flow, stormwater flow going from east to west in this general region, which is a DP1 that's noted on these drainage maps. This infiltration basin is going to be continuously utilized as a BMP for stormwater runoff.
Yeah, that's great, Josh. Thank you. And then I think in addition to this and the existing infiltration basin that will, continue to promote groundwater recharge, the other plan set that you were showing has a pretty good outline of the temporary measures that are proposed, which can also play a big part in construction of these projects. So between the two, those designs were captured in the stormwater design and overall civil design for this project.
Okay, thank you. Greg, did you want to add anything else, or are you ready to go to questions?
I have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Okay, questions from the commissioners then.
All set.
Everybody good? Okay, Kelly, anything? Actually, before I go to Kelly, I'm going to just ask again that when you, in terms of site stabilization, that you just make sure you get the grass, that grass mix planted as quick as possible to help with any erosion issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Typical practice, but yeah.
Okay, Kelly, any comments?
Okay, so it's just a couple of comments that I'd picked up from the engineering review. There was a catch basin inlet protection required on the catch basin near the transformer trench, and to provide inspection for erosion and sediment control weekly or after any 0.1 inch plus rain event. And so if we can just include it, we'll include a condition for that a record of that inspection be provided back to myself. And we'll also need to include a condition that the SWIP be provided before any land disturbance begins, that we have an on-site pre-construction inspection. And of course, just reiterating those required inspections that are required under the regulations, including the requirement for a final report once the project is completed. Use of drought-tolerant grasses that require little input to maintain at the site. And again, just getting those areas stabilized soon after completion of the project as possible, and just monitoring the vegetation to make sure that it does take hold and become well established and stabilized after the project is completed. And those were all of the comments that I had.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Yeah, just one question. Just for my information, it's really interesting, this whole project, and so detailed. But what's the distance between, let's say, the Mid-Cape Highway and the perimeter of the fence on that would be the north side? And does it allow for any trees to be left between that in that area?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Thanks, Paul, for that question.
Sure.
We are planning on preserving trees. I'm not sure, Kayla, chime in if the civil plans denote some sort of dimension between the Cape right of way and our fence line. However, there is vegetation that will remain that's existing. And part of the site plan review recommendations were to have some additional plantings along that northern fence line in order to block potential orders that might be going to the north and northeast there that might be blocked right now from the existing vegetation that will be removed. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who has any comments, questions with this project? Raise your hand digitally if you do. All right, I see none. Any further discussion among the commission? Kelly, we just need to approve the project, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just approve it under the stormwater bylaw, and to issue a permit under the stormwater bylaw.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve under stormwater bylaw with the special conditions that were spelled out by Kelly earlier?
So moved, David.
Okay, thank you, David, and I'll take you as a second, Ellie.
Second, yeah.
All right, Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Durkin? Oh,
He's muted, but it looks like
waving.
he's saying
Aye.
yes.
Oh, there you go. Bernstein?
Aye.
Lawrence?
Aye.
Hoops?
Aye.
Huggins?
Aye.
Mulhern?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you, Josh, Kayla, Greg. Moving on to our next order of business is a request for determination of applicability for Greg Pasquale, 30 Driftwood Lane, Yarmouth, Massachusetts, proposed vista pruning within a coastal bank and buffer zone to a salt marsh. Is Greg here?
Just doing some procedural things with the Zoom. Okay, so we have somebody with their hand raised on a cell phone. So
Hello. Hello.
hi there.
Hi, are you
Can
Greg?
anyone hear me?
Yes,
I'm
this is
Greg.
Greg.
I'm Greg Pasquale. Yes.
Okay.
I have successfully navigated my phone to get in. So.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. So my.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Do you have any description?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, just basically, my wife and I live here, 30 Driftwood, with our 2 kids. We bought the house in 2018, and we're just trying to maintain the view of the pruning. We submitted some photographs, and we have a report from an arborist. And I think Kelly's been out to this. I know Kelly's been out to the scene with myself and the arborist. And I'm not sure what else information you need.
Okay. We will go to questions from the commissioners. I did want to point out, I think you had originally proposed a 30% canopy cutting every year for the duration of the RDA, but we typically will not support that. So the one thing that we should do is change this to 30% in total of the canopy for pruning.
For what?
Where you're talking about pruning the canopy, doing the canopy work.
Yes.
You were talking about doing
Yes.
30% every year. We typically wouldn't
I think-
permit something like that. So we would do the guidelines, Vista pruning guidelines would allow you to do 30% in total for the life of the
Okay.
project. You can certainly reassess that, 5 years down the line, and if things need to be adjusted again, it would have to file a new request for determination then.
Okay. I'm not sure I quite understand, and I don't, want to run afoul of whatever the commission does. So should I just,
Are you
say-
doing the work?
When you, no. I've hired an arborist to do it.
Okay, so
and he submitted a report.
Okay, so before the work commences, have the arborist contact Kelly.
Okay.
But again, that will be that he needs to know that he can only do 30% in total of the canopy, not 30% annually.
I got it. And so
Okay.
if he does 30%, as I understand it, 30% of the canopy, and that 30% gets maintained. But is that what you mean?
That can be maintained, right?
Got it. But it can't be 30, 30, and 30, ending up being 90, right?
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Any further comments or questions from the commission? Kelly, any comments or questions?
Nope, I have no comments or questions.
Okay, anybody in the audience who has any comments, concerns with this project, raise your hand digitally. All right, I see none. Unless there's any further discussion from the commission, do I have a motion to?
I have a question first.
Oh, sorry, David. Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes it takes time for it to percolate in my head. So I just want to be sure with that the arborists, you said he or she's going to get in touch with Kelly, that they understand totally what 30% looks like, because I certainly don't. I was
Right.
there, and I certainly have no idea what 30% looks like.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I definitely will have him reach out with Kelly to specify it. I know I had asked him to come out here informally with Kelly, and we talked generally about things, but I definitely will have him get in touch with Kelly. And if another site visit is necessary, that's fine too.
Yeah, so look, at the write-up that he provided, that the arborist provided, he said perform canopy reduction, pruning, and canopy thinning by 3 to 5 feet, or by removing no more than 30% of the canopy on all understory trees. So he would pretty much go tree by tree, making cuts. He says making cuts at viable branching to retain the tree health. So he'll be looking at every tree individually to remove selective branches that, obviously it's kind of subjective as to what 30% is, but just, keeping the main branching to keep the health of the tree, but opening up the canopy a little.
And what about the lower part? As I'm looking at the picture you have up there, not the trees, but the brush.
Yeah, those are the trees, the beech trees that he's talking about. They're just smaller, and they're lower down the bank, so they look they look more shrub-like, but those are all the smaller trees. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the 30% canopy. The other work on these larger trees you see is all very specific, called out limb by limb, which they call out in the plan and in some of the images that we have. And again, I can go through that with the arborist on site. And I have done already with him.
I have a question.
You, Paul?
Yeah, reading through this, just so I understand, I'm on page 2 of 4, general tree care, at the very bottom of the page. It has a plan for year 2, phase 2. So from what you're saying, Ed, there won't be any year 2, phase 2. There'll be a 30% reduction initially, and then it'll be left as is for the remainder of that time until such time as a permit is applied for again. Is that correct?
Or, I mean, assuming that he does everything at once in the first, all at once at the first year, that would be
Could
correct.
go, yeah, could go on.
Right.
Okay. Because it also says, let's see. It talks about in year 2 or phase 2, very last paragraph, perform canopy reduction, pruning, and canopy thinning by 3 to 5 feet or by removing no more than 30% of canopy on all understory trees, making cuts of viable branching to retain tree health and improve view of vista from ground level of property. So, so my understanding of that, I guess, just as it says, it's okay if this is passed to both prune the trees for the health of the tree, but also prune out branches and so on and so forth to improve the view. Is that correct?
That's all part of the vista pruning guideline, right?
Yeah, okay, and that's all okay. All right.
But it's maximum 30%. That's
Yeah, I get that. All right, I just wanted to, it just seemed like it was going a little farther than what you first described, but now I appreciate that explanation. Thank you.
yeah.
Can
That's
I-
why we were trying to make
can
sure
I
that he would cut that back.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question just on clarification? When you folks use the word 30% of the canopy, are you talking about 30% of each tree? Or are you talking about if I look at my property from left to right, I can only have a canopy of 30% of that? So I guess
It's
I'm not
30%
sure in
of
the
every
terminology.
tree.
I got it.
So
Okay.
it has to
That's all I
be
needed to
be
know.
assessed on a tree by tree basis, which would then
Gotcha.
translate to 30% of the total canopy.
So it's a thinning
Gotcha.
more than a just removing
Right.
sections.
I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay, thank you. And again, this is all above me, so I'll put Jared in touch with Kelly, and I'm sure we'll make sure that he complies with whatever the commission says is good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any further comments from the commission? All right. If not, would somebody like to make a motion for a -3, noting the change with the condition on pruning?
So moved, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
Second, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Kelly, would you call the roll?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, 6-0.
Thank you very much, folks. And Kelly, I'll be in touch with you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next order of business is another request for determination of applicability for Tom Lewis, TEC Associates, Massachusetts Coastal Railroad right-of-way vegetation control within Coastal Railroad right-of-way. And let's see, this is Tom Lewis. All right, Tom, are you? Let's see, you're good.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and describe your project.
All right, thanks. So I'm here on behalf of the Mass Coastal Railroad. Just as a little background, the Mass Coastal Railroad, as all railroads in the Commonwealth, they manage their vegetation under the rights of way regulations, which is administered by the Department of Agricultural Resources. So as part of that, the regulation requires them to have a vegetation management plan, which is a 5-year document. The most recent one expired at the end of 2020 and is in the process of renewal. So as part of that, they're also required to go to every municipality and file a request for determination in order to confirm the boundary delineations of both wetland and water supply resource areas. So that's the purpose of my application. And you have 2 maps. there's actually two different lines. One we refer to as the South Dennis line that goes out to the transfer station. That's the one that's up on your screen now. And then the other line they call just the main line, and that goes down to the Hyannis train station. So just
Okay.
a quick description here. You can see the blue line in the middle of the screen that runs along I guess that's Willow Street.
Yep.
So that would be more or less parallels Willow Street, goes under Route 6. It comes in from Barnstable to the north, and then goes, it's in Yarmouth and then back into Barnstable and goes down along by the airport. So that segment in the middle, the whole hatched area, that kind of large blob that encompasses most of the middle of that map, that is all Zone 2 wellhead protection, groundwater recharge. So what that means is anything within that area, they can only make one application every 2 years. So that area is restricted to every 24-month application.
Okay.
All right. And also they can only use, they're restricted from using, well, they can only use products that are on the sensitive area materials list, which is listed by the Commonwealth. And when you get your yearly operational plan, it'll describe all the products that are going to be used for that particular year.
Okay.
So this line has also some Zone 2 recharge where the darker blues are on the track. The lighter blue areas that are between milepost 0 and 1, that's just all buffer zone. So in the lighter blue areas, they're restricted to one application per year. So for example, this year, this is the year that they're not going to be spraying the Zone 2 areas. So this year on this map, they're only going to be spraying between milepost 0 and roughly milepost 1 there. And they won't be able to spray most of the rest of that. So that's pretty much the delineation in a nutshell.
Okay, good. And Kelly, you're good with the delineation now. I know there was a little bit of a hiccup with it, but everything, all the plans are matching what are supposed to be on the ground, right?
Yeah, this map was updated to just to accurately show with the no spray corresponding to the wetland areas. So more so.
Okay. Is there any question from the commissioners? Okay. Kelly, any comments from you or any further comments?
Nope, I have no further comments.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who has any questions with this? Raise your hand digitally if you do. I see none. So we are doing both for the work as well as a delineation, verification delineation. So we need do we have, unless there's any further discussion from the commission, is there a motion for a -3 and a -5?
So moved, David.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second, Ellie.
Thank you, Ellie. Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously 6-0.
All right.
Thank you.
you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Let's see, next order of business is another request for determination of applicability for John Primpus, 151 Ocean Avenue, Yarmouth, Massachusetts, proposed additions to an existing single-family dwelling, septic system upgrade, and a patio within the buffer zone to a wetland resource area and land subject to coastal storm flowage. This is Hannah. I saw Hannah there earlier. Oh, there she is. Okay, you just have to unmute. There you go.
Yep. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So before you tonight, we have a simple project. There's multiple things going on the property, but only one thing is within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW. The other things that are going on at the site that are proposed are 2 additions to the single-family dwelling, one on the northern side and one on the southeastern side, along with the relocation of a shed out of the way of the addition, which will be moved landward of the BVW. There's also going to be upgrades to an existing septic system. And the last thing is the proposed pervious patio on the back of the house. 64 square feet of this pervious patio will be within the outer limits of the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW, and will be within FEMA flood zone as this entire site is in. The limited scope of work is the reason we're filing this RDA, and we believe that it will not have any significant impacts to the resource area and its associated buffer zone. Those are all the important points, so I'll just go ahead and open up to questions.
Okay, questions from the commission? Tom?
Hannah, just an explanation to an uninformed person here. What is involved in the upgrade to the septic system?
I'm generally not the best person to ask, being the wetland scientist here, but I believe they're upgrading the capacity of the septic system due to the additions to the single-family dwelling. So it's just to meet the standards needed. Karen Healy is also on tonight with me, so he could probably answer more questions if Kelly could bring him in.
Thank you.
Karen, are you out there?
Yep, I've unmuted him.
Okay.
He just joined.
Good afternoon, members. Kieran Healy here, BSC Group. The septic system that's out there is a 3-bedroom septic system. We are proposing 1 new bedroom in this new house. And as the previous septic system was put in without any variance, we are able to add on a piece to the end of the septic system to basically make it a 4-bedroom septic. We have been in discussions with Bruce Murphy at the Board of Health, and we do have approval for him to do it in this manner.
Thank you, Karen. Okay.
All right, thank you. Paul, did you have your hand up too?
No, it's okay. I look things over. I answered my own question. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else from the commission?
Well, this is Ellie here.
Yep.
I was out on site with Kelly, and it seems that the existing patio, which it's going to be removed, I believe, is inside the town property for, I think it's not conservation, it's recreation. That's going to be removed, I hope.
We can discuss it with the client if that's of concern to the Conservation Commission.
Well, it is on town property. It's not their property, so they're encroaching upon the town property.
I understand.
Yeah. That's all the questions I have.
Okay. Anybody else?
David?
David, yeah, go ahead.
The way I understand where it says wood post, part of that is within the 100-foot buffer. Am I correct?
Just looking at the plan right now.
It's right above the patio that Ellie was talking about. Right at the bottom there. Yeah, right there. Am I reading that right? That's within the 100-foot buffer?
It's the patio that's within the 100-foot buffer at that corner. There is a wood post which is being referenced, but that's just a post.
Oh,
outside
okay.
the side.
Oh, that's right. I remember seeing the post. Yeah, almost tripping over it. Yeah. Okay. So okay. So part of this patio is within the 100-foot buffer. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, 64 square feet of the 460 square foot pervious patio.
Ed, just a question about that.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, about that patio, you kind of see this a lot, where you want to put in a patio, I guess it has to be rectangular in shape. And it encroaches onto the wait a minute. Onto the buffer. I just don't I read over some of the explanation in the application. I think it said, and the reason they're putting a patio in is because people are sitting out on the lawn and it was kind of wrecking the lawn or something like that in that area. Is there ever any thought to just kind of running the edge of the patio along the buffer instead of going over into the buffer to not run into difficulties as far as that concerned?
I believe this design was just standard, but it could be changed. We could talk with the applicant about shifting it while we're also discussing the patio that is off of the property.
Yeah, well, the property off the patio off the property, I mean, isn't that kind of like a foregone conclusion that would be removed if they're using it and it's not their land? Wouldn't they just naturally take that out of there? Why would it be even a matter of discussion?
If I could add to that, Paul, when they purchased the house, that patio was there, and they did not realize that it was over the property line until we did our survey and we showed it to them recently. So I have talked to them that the commission would probably require that to be removed.
Yeah.
But as far as the other patio goes, the other patio is 90 feet away from the edge of the wetland. This commission allows houses to be at 50 feet away from a wetland. So it's pretty far away and the ground is extremely flat, as you can see by those spot grades that are out there.
Yeah.
So it's not going to have any adverse effect on the wetland being 90 feet away from it.
Okay. It just seems sometimes to run into these difficulties where it's a matter of conversation that in a way could be avoided. I understand what you're saying, Karen. I think that's, obviously you know what you're talking about. But sometimes it seems, there's this encroachment. And sometimes when there's encroachment, I think there's also some mitigation that's done, plantings and so on. I'm not necessarily saying that should be the case now, but I just kind of wonder about that. If you know you're going over, why go over? That's all. Thank you.
I will say, if I could add, Paul, to you, when I don't know if you've been out there, but it's a very, very small area.
Yeah.
Between the house and their property line. I can understand why they thought the old patio was in their property because it's an extremely small backyard.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And they did say it was pervious patio, so I'm less likely to worry about that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, this is Ellie, and it's just a question, probably more for the building department. Is there a setback for a patio on the property line? I know there is one for the buildings.
I can tell you without doubt, Ellie, there is no setback for a pervious patio that's on grade in the town of Yarmouth.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
I can verify that because I just had I had a question about for my own edification and actually for my own use. I was asking that very question of the building department. So
it's just a curiosity question.
All right. Anybody else on the commission have any questions?
This is Pat. I have a question on that. The patio that was going to be removed. That property should be allowed to revegetate if it's part of the town property there when they remove the patio.
It was all grass, right? Around that area, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it should, I mean, they could certainly add a little bit of loam after they take the patio out and seed it, but I mean, it seemed like it was just regular household type grass, right? It's not.
Yeah, there's nothing special there. It's just regular grass.
Okay. So yeah,
Um,
that would be good.
If I could interject for a moment, the applicant is wishing to speak. John Primpus is most likely in the audience. I don't know his number though.
I've allowed him to speak. He's
Okay.
unmuted, so.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm here. So I just want to make something clear to the conservation. So when my wife and I purchased this house, that patio was already there. So, and as Karen said, we didn't realize it was on town property until after we bought it. But I guess if you're going to enforce me to remove my patio, then you guys better be enforcing some of my neighbors who are passed into conservation too, because it doesn't seem fair that I have to remove something when other people have grass into conservation. I think it should work both ways there.
Well, first of all, it's not your patio.
I understand that,
but I will certainly, if you know of other areas that are encroaching onto the town property, then please, by all means, let Kelly know that, and we will look into that as well.
But getting back to the matter at hand, we will be removing that patio as the commission suggests.
It's not on our property. We have to remove it. It doesn't matter. We have to remove it. We already know that.
Okay. Any further questions? Any further comment? Anybody else in the audience on this? All right.
No, I do have one, Ed, if I may.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
If it is removed and it is town property, it should be allowed to revegetate naturally instead of being maintained as a lawn. That's the encroachment there.
Well, I mean, it's just grass. I was not out there, so I can't tell you. But based on what the property from the pictures looked like, it looked like it was just regular lawn. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. It's just regular grass.
So yeah, I mean, I think if you leave it, it will certainly grow in. So I mean, I'm fine with just letting it revegetate naturally too.
There you go. That's fine. That's what we want. That's what we want.
Is that okay, Ellie?
Yeah,
You're good?
that's well, it goes into mowing. If they keep mowing it, it's not going to revegetate except for grass. But yeah, that's okay.
Can I ask a question?
Who was that?
So I'm the applicant. So when you say,
yeah, go ahead.
When you say revegetate naturally, so that means we can't cut grass. Like, how would we put a patio if it's going to revegetate naturally? I mean, obviously, I don't want to put a patio if we do that, say 1, 2, 3 years down the line, and then we have like a bunch of vegetation or brush around me. That wouldn't look good.
Well, you can mow up to your property line.
So why can't we just leave things? So if I already know that I have to remove the patio. Like we're well aware of that. Why can't we just loom it and then seed it so that it remains grass like the rest of the property? I mean, why do we have to let it I'm just confused with the whole vegetation thing, because I guess my question is, why wasn't this enforced on the previous homeowner? I mean, it's been like this for 30 something years.
Well, obviously, because we didn't know about it. If we knew about it, we would have done something earlier.
I understand, but this is like maybe literally an 8x10 patio. I mean, if it's going to look silly and out of place if we just let that one area revegetate.
No.
Well, again, it's going to revegetate with what's around it. So it looks like, basic lawn sod type grass. So
That's fine. As long as that's okay with the commission, then we're okay with that.
That's what they've been saying all along, is like, just let it revegetate naturally. Don't seed it. That's what they were saying. Don't seed it. Just let it revegetate naturally with whatever's around it.
Okay, that's fine.
But then at the same time, you're not supposed to be mowing it either. That's what they're saying.
So,
I don't understand what the problem is. It's not your property, so you don't mow it. It's you stay off of it. That's the issue. Any further comment or question? Somebody like to do a motion for, what is this, -3?
So moved, David.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second, Ellie.
Thank you, Ellie. Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Nay.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Karen. Next order of business is a notice of intent for Stephen Brinkman, 361 Great Island Road, Yarmouth, Massachusetts, proposed after the fact filing for minor modifications to floats and ramp associated with an existing permitted block over structure in Sweetheart Creek. Hannah.
Sorry, I think I just muted her. Oh.
I think I'm
Oh, you're
unmuted
good.
now.
Okay. I just wanted to take a pause for a second because I just saw an email from DMF on this one, and so that might help us with moving this one along.
Oh, on the current one, is that what you're?
The one we're just opening, yeah.
Okay, so it's probably our comment letter.
Yeah. So okay, so I'll keep that open so we can refer to that.
Okay, Hannah, you want to go ahead?
Yep. I realized I forgot to introduce myself formally in that last agenda item. My name is Hannah Raditz. I'm a wetland scientist with BSC. In front of you tonight is an after the fact notice of intent for minor modifications to an existing float and ramp system with an associated existing pier. The two existing pilings are going to be the only disturbance to land under ocean. They will be shifted forward to accommodate the minor modifications, which are a change in floats. The floats will be reduced from their current square footage, which is 252 square feet, down to 198 square feet under the 200-foot limit. And these floats will be 6 feet by 16.5. Currently, there are no floats in the water. When the applicant received the notice that he was in violation, he removed them. This is an application to comply with the regulations and permit this alteration. Because of the shift in the floats to allow for the necessary depth for the boats, the ramp will also be lengthened to 17.5 feet to also create a stable connection between the floats and the ramp, given their length and the distance between the pier. A shellfish study was conducted at this site by me a couple weeks ago. Few shellfish were found. However, because the only impact is going to be less than 3 square feet to shift the existing pilings, it is estimated that no significant impact will be had to shellfish habitat. We will also be filing with Chapter 91 for a new general license, which will accommodate these changes, and also will be filing with the Army Corps of Engineers. That is the main important points. So I'll turn it over to questions.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Questions from the commission?
Have we got to report Kelly from Waterways, what they said about this?
Waterways voted to support the project at last night's Waterways Committee meeting.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Kelly.
Oh, sorry. The Waterways Committee voted to support the project at last night's meeting.
Thank you.
And I just received an email from DMF saying that they have no recommendations. So we're all set with them as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay, anything else from the commission?
David,
Yeah.
I just have a concern, not maybe about this, and maybe it's not the right place to say this or do this, but all along Sweetwater Creek on both sides, there are piers, and somewhere along the line, I would think that there's just not enough room for all this in boats. Is that within our purview to worry about, or is that Waterways problem?
It was brought up at the Waterways meeting, but the float is in compliance under the 200 square feet, and they approved it with that bylaw that we have. But I
Okay.
understand your concern. It's more of a navigation, which would be for Waterways.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Kelly, you're good with this?
Yep. So sorry, I didn't hear whether Hannah had mentioned, but the existing dock was permitted back in the 80s. A certificate of compliance was issued in 1984, and that was for a 116 by 6 float, which was the 96 square feet. So I think a lot of the docks in this body of water were permitted much smaller, probably because of the size of the water body at the time. So, I mean, I do have some concerns about the congestion of docks in this water body. And I think it doesn't just relate to congestions in terms of navigation. I think it does also provide some kind of cumulative impacts to the resource areas as well, by having a large number of larger floats in quite a small area. But the regulation does allow for up to 200 square feet. So that is the Commission's call on if they're prepared to issue a permit for up to that for that number.
At least it's less than what was there, right?
Yes,
50,
so it went from 90
square feet.
Yeah, it went from 96 square feet up to 252 square feet.
Okay, any other concerns on that point from the commission?
Well, I have concerns more, both on what Kelly said and also for navigational. It's a lot of shading for the shellfish and everything else in the water, but the bigger the floats, the bigger the boats. It's something that just keeps growing and growing. I think in the long run, we're going to have to look at it a little closer.
I don't necessarily disagree with you on that. I think, I don't think there's anything we can do from, for this current, under the current guidelines or regulations, but I think that might have to be another discussion for a regulations update, that sort of thing.
Well, I do want to add to Ellie's comment, though. It does bother me that people go ahead and put in something larger, then they get caught, and then they have to take it out, and then they ask permission for something just below what's allowed, and that just doesn't sit well with me when people do that. And I just want to make that statement.
If I could say something just quickly, the applicant did buy this house recently, so he's new to the area. So I believe it was a surprise to him that this was the issue, and he's been working diligently over the last few months to get this permitted so that he can be in compliance. So the applicant is making the effort to fall within the regulations of Yarmouth. And now that we have DMF's letter, I don't know if you saw, Kelly, DEP had comments relating to wanting a electronic proof that DMF was notified and a notice of intent was submitted to them. So I will forward this letter to them, as I guess it's better than sending them the email that I sent to them to meet their requirements.
Yes, I did note that. I had the receipt for the DMF, so I wasn't too concerned about that. But yes, if you could just send that on to them, that would be great.
Great,
So
thank you, Kelly.
I want to make one more comment off of Hannah's comment. It bothers me that, and we've had this not just here, but throughout the year I've been on this committee, that people say, well, we just bought it, we didn't know. Isn't that what lawyers do when they buy it, when you buy a house? You have people who look over the deeds and look over everything and then say, well, this is, you're encroaching on town property here, or you're, you know, your what you have for is too large. I know when I bought a house, our fence was on the wrong side of the town of the line, and our lawyer told us that, and we went over to the neighbor and straightened all that out. But you know, that's why I hire lawyers when you buy and sell a house, especially one of this size. So I'm hearing, and this Hannah is not about this particular property. It's just me saying somewhere along the line, people aren't doing their job. That's not you, Hannah. And it's not this particular property, but it seems that people should know these things before they buy a house. That's all.
I mean, I think it's a lot of times that is the case. I mean, but it certainly, as we've said, it's not this owner that, you know, I mean, it's, yeah, you're supposed to be doing a little bit more due diligence, but sometimes, especially with houses that are exchanged with, you know, essentially with cash, that, you know, I think the lawyers look far less stringently than they do if it's a bank and a mortgaged property. And I have no idea how that fits into this one, but I agree with everything that's been said. I think, you know, it's, if this were the original owner who was granted the 90 foot, and you know, he went to 250, and then I say, well, okay, now I got caught and I'm going back to 200. Then I would say, no, you're sitting back at 90, but this was completely out of this individual's hands, and they have worked. They worked hard to bring it back into compliance. So,
and I'm not saying I'm not going to vote yes, but I'm just saying that I'm just hearing this a lot. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any comments, questions from the commission? Kelly, do we have the do we have the EP number now?
Yes, we have 2278.
Okay, so this is 2278. And so we can go ahead and close. Anybody in the audience who has any comments, questions, raise your hand digitally. I see none. Unless there's any further discussion from the commission, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the permit with special conditions for SE 83-2278?
So move, David.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. I'll get you next time, Pat. Don't worry.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me, Pat.
Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously 6-0.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Next order of business is another notice of intent for Christian Nolan, 71 Smiths Point Road, Yarmouth, Massachusetts. A proposed construction of a 2-bedroom guest house with minor septic system modifications within land subject to coastal storm flowage.
We skipped
I
one.
believe this is it Dan is out? Yeah, Dan.
Did we skip
one?
We skipped one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Sugar
put that 2278 in the wrong one. I apologize, everybody. This is the next order is a notice of intent for Joseph R. Jenkins, trustee, 1039 Great Island Road, Yarmouth, Massachusetts. Proposed renovation and construction of a patio within the buffer zone to Coastal Bank, repair and modification of a stairway within the coastal bank in a coastal resource area with coastal banks, subject to coastal storm flowage.
And after all
And-
that, we had a request to continue to May 6th.
All right, so do I have a motion to continue this to May 5th?
So moved, Tom.
Six.
Thank
May,
you, Tom.
May,
May
I'll
6th.
second it to May 6th.
To May 6th. Is that meet your approval, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay, May 6th. Thank you for seconding, Ellie. Kelly, would you call the roll?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously 6-0.
All right. Now let's go to 71 Smiths Point Road. Another notice of intent for Christian Nolan, 71 Smiths Point Road, Yarmouth, Mass. Proposed construction of a 2-bedroom guest house with minor septic system modifications within land subject to coastal storm flowage. And now we can go to Dan.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Good evening, members of the commission, Chairman Hoops and members of the board and Kelly. My name is, for the record, Dan Ojala. I'm a land surveyor and civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering in Yarmouth Port. And we're helping Christian Nolan out with a very nice project out here on Great Island. If you can see the photos in the back of the filing, this is a supernatural site, or if you went out to the site, I'm sure you'd appreciate. There's no manicured lawn. There's no extensive landscape. These folks, it looks like you're walking into a nature conservancy here. It's a 4.5 acre site, and it's set up with a really cool home that's integrated in. We worked back in the late 90s, early 2000s to develop it. It's kind of an X-shaped house. You can go down a walkway and kind of take a peek of view out to the water. And we're working, that's tucked in, it's a relic dune out front. Of course, it's waterfront, and there's some active dune, primary dune, and then there's some older growth, which is developed into a forest. You'd call it a relic dune. It was modeled by the botanist at the time. A couple little IVWs that were under the jurisdiction, but they still respected them, didn't try and fill them or anything, just working around them and keeping things natural. There's, trees that come over the walkways. It's a very, very nice look and feel, and they want to maintain that. So they've hired Mary LeBlanc to do a native landscape palette on the landscaping around the little addition. It's a guest house that's in a flood zone. We're way back from the water, as you can see, but there's technically a very minor and modest coastal bank, which is on the west side, where it's just steep enough to be over the 10%. And so we'd call that a technical coastal bank, but it certainly doesn't function as a sediment source or really to even contain floodwaters any more than any other slope that was, say, a degree or two less would. But that does exist a little bit to the west of where we're working. So there is a request on the file to work within the 50 foot of that. Again, I would argue that we're mostly horizontal to that. And when you look at a coastal bank, it's erosion up and down the slope. So we wouldn't impact that in a manner anyway. And has only recently come up because of the new higher flood zones. We was a couple of feet in this area that raised up from when we were working before. But again, the site is very well prepared for flooding. It's all elevated up. A lot of it's on piles. The garage, of course, is slab. This is going to be up on a stem wall with flood vents underneath it. It's basically an at-grade little slab with a couple of feet, and then hanging from the ceiling to get it up, or the roof of the crawl space will be a couple of the heating elements. This guest house was always planned. It was part of the package. They just didn't pull the trigger on it right away. It's within the hatched area, which is approved for the building envelope. There's many rules and regulations out here on the Big Island, and we're compliant with all of them. It's deeded rights to have the little guest house. Not all the lots can have one, but this one can. And so they did size the septic large enough for it. Again, it's a 4.5 acre site. We're treading very lightly on the environment. It's used generally just seasonally. So there's not a lot of impact here. And again, I think they should get some kudos for maintaining such a beautifully natural site. If you went to the site or if you're looking at the photos, It's a very low impact design and very nature conscious and conservation minded folks. So would sure look forward to your approval. But if there's anything you see that we can tweak or talk about, I'd be glad to address your questions. And we have a complete narrative which goes over all the points in detail. I can cover them if needed, but I'm sure you've read it. But in the brevity, to be brief, I won't go through all that or the alternatives analysis. But I think it's a very approvable project in my opinion, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Before we get into anything else, I mean, I don't have an issue with what's being proposed. I'm reading through some notes, and it does seem as though we may be missing some information from the plan. Have we? So we're going to be looking for a new revised plan that shows some flood zone issues, right, Kelly?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, just so we're all clear on the resource areas and make sure they're accurately shown on the plan. I was a little confused. I guess some of the flood zone lines are not shown on the plan, so we don't see the VE zone and the AE13 line. And I just want to clarify with regards to the relic dune. You're saying it's a coastal dune, but it's effectively a secondary dune?
Well, what I would say is that it used to be a dune. I wouldn't say that's a regulatory a dune anymore. I think that what you would be looking at are the ones we've shown offsets to, which are the isolated vegetated wetland. So we've got the 100-foot buffer, and of course you've got a regulation of the coastal bank, which is the darker line, the one that affects the current work, kind of runs through the guest house. So the guest house would be in that A11.
On what basis, though, is the relic dune not a regulatory dune?
In other words, a relic meaning it used to be a dune. If you look at it, it looks kind of like a dune, but it has more upland characteristics. The primary dune would be considered a dune that is regulated under the Wetlands Protection Act, is my understanding.
Upland characteristics in terms of sediment type or shape or?
Right. Well, a dune has to transport sand back and forth between the beach and it simply doesn't do that anymore. So there's leaf litter, there's topsoil, there's trees. But if you bore down, you can see where there's some windblown, materials. So it was very carefully analyzed prior, and the house was constructed within those areas. But we just left that on there because it was a very, diligent study that was done to delineate where the primary or regulatory dune was out front, which if you scroll down a little is shown in that font. And then this is just an area that has transitioned to upland probably in the last couple thousand years or so. The ice age drifted back 10 or 12,000 years ago, and it's been transitioning to upland, and so that's what it is. But you can see signs where it was at one time it was a dune before the forest took over it, a few thousand years ago or so. So that's the reason for those notations. The more jagged line out front, and if you look at Google Earth, that's where there's some open sands and so forth. That's a dune out there. And then of course it's very low, so there's an IVW to the east and a little wetland that's a little bit beneath your regulatory size, under 3,000 square foot, just to the west of the house. So those are all the resource areas. There's quite a few of them. We could put those other zones on, but as I recall, they were out very much seaward of our area of work. So they wouldn't be impacted anywhere where we're working, but I can certainly get those in the drawing if you need them.
Yeah, I think Dan, I would like to see that just regardless, just so it's a more accurate plan.
So the definition of a coastal dune, and I'm basing my assessment of this on the definitions in the regulations. So the coastal dune is a natural hill, mound, or ridge of sediment landward of a coastal beach, deposited by wind action or storm overwash. Coastal dune also means sediment deposited by artificial means, serving the purpose of storm damage prevention and flood control. So I would say that the dune relic, and I don't think that this impacts the project, but I just want to make sure we're reflecting it correctly on the plan, that the dune relic is actually secondary dune, that the primary dune, of course, is the one that is inherent significance under the regulations, and that a secondary dune can have significance under the regulation, but not necessarily does. So in this instance, it seems to meet the definition of a dune, but is not a primary dune. So therefore its significance in terms of meeting the interests of the Act may not be there, in which case, this project, there is not an issue with the location and everything. But I just want to be clear that the definition, the interpretation of what a dune is being based on the regulations that we're reviewing. And I mean, I understand that, I think in the notes that and from what you just said, that these resource areas were determined back in maybe 2002 based on someone's assessment, so 2001, which is quite a while ago. There may have been some regulatory updates, and the FEMA flood maps have certainly been updated since then. I feel like we just need to revisit this and make sure that what's being presented reflects the regulations in terms of these definitions. Obviously, because I even had a question like that landward limit of the primary dune is at a high point in that kind of secondary dune. I would have expected it to have been in the low point between these two dune systems, and it usually follows the velocity zone line. So that's why I would be interested to see where that velocity zone line is as well, just so that it all kind of lines up and follows the definitions within the regulations.
Yeah.
I understand the isolated wetland, less than 3,000 square feet is non-jurisdictional, and then we have the other isolated wetland, which is greater than 100 feet away, so no problem. I don't see any issues with the coastal bank, given that it's like a coastal bank segment, wetland land that is a regulatory coastal bank, but is not going to impact this project. But I just want us to be clear on that the plan matches the regulations definitions.
Yeah, I had in the narrative, the relic dune does not function as active dune habitat, as it's heavily vegetated and has stable soils. But when you go do a boring on it, and I could look up and see who the coastal geologist was that did it at the time, whether it was Humphreys or someone else. It was just big noted that there was some windblown deposits, but it was not, it's not an active dune and in that manner, because it's, looks basically like a forest. And I think that the openers, more open sand and heather, and windblown deposits versus the heavy woods is really the transition line on this one. Not so much, where they would map a velocity zone, but, the V zone is certainly something we can show on that plan. I might have frozen the layer just in the interest of keeping the plan a little bit simpler, but it's certainly nowhere near where we are here, for sure.
Oh yeah, it's I think it's somewhere out in this area.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so I think we should certainly get a revised plan showing that those additional flood zone lines. I agree 100%, Kelly, and thank you. You did an excellent job of summarizing the what is essentially the secondary dune, which was what I was going to suggest that because that's what it is. It's a secondary dune system. Again, I don't think the project as it proposed doesn't have any impact to the area whatsoever. So I'm fully in support of the project. We just need to straighten up the map or the plan a little bit before we do a final sign off on it. That's my 2 cents. And again, well done, Kelly. And I will turn it over to the rest of the commission if they have any questions.
All set?
Was that Paul?
Yes, it was. All set.
Okay. Anybody?
Yeah, I agree with the updated plan, so I make a motion that we continue this until, or Kelly, would you feel comfortable if the plan was just presented to you if we approve this? Or do you want to have them come back?
Yeah, I mean, if the commission are happy with the project, then updated delineation or updated resource areas on the plan, I would be fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm good with that too.
Me too.
Let me just, I just want to check. We did receive the Mass DEP file number for it, and they didn't have any questions or concerns.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Oh, just Dan Ojala saying, I did have those layers in my drawing, but they were frozen. But yeah, it's way out front, like you say, roughly where the active dune is. So it is, literally, hundreds of feet from our project, probably over 300 feet from where we're talking about. Is the first blush that I see here. So if the board would agree to that, we'll get that plotted as a condition of approval. We sure would appreciate it in order to keep things moving. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I don't think we have. I think we're. Does anybody have any other questions about the project? Okay, anybody in the audience? Raise your hand digitally. I see none. So Ellie, you were about to make a motion then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept this project as presented with a new plot of the delineation that Kelly requested.
Second, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Kelly, would you call the roll?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously 6-0.
Thank you very much for your time and consideration. Appreciate it very
Thank you,
much.
Dan. Let's see. The next order of business is another notice of intent for David Atchison Jr. 162B Pleasant Street, Yarmouth, Massachusetts. Proposed reconstruction of a licensed pier, platform, and float. Install coir logs on eroding coastal bank. Nourishment and plantings within riverfront area. Land under the ocean, coastal bank, salt marsh, and land containing shellfish, fish run, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Could we find a isolated vegetative wetland and something else to round out the resource areas?
We'll get the riverfront on this one.
Yeah, so Dan, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman Hoops, members of the commission. Again, for the record, my name is Dan Ojala. I'm a licensed land surveyor and a licensed professional engineer on helping the Atchisons, LD and David, and folks out who in common have inherited their parents' older, very antique and natural site here on the river. What they were hoping to do is kind of modernize the pier that's there now. They've been talking with Alemco, I believe, and the pier is just low enough so it'll flood occasionally on a moon tide, and it's just old and in disrepair. We checked with waterways, no reason to file. It's exactly the same footprint as what's there now. It's just being raised up a little bit, and so the deck height will be similar to the Dodds Pier, which is just to the north. This is had been licensed or in existence for many years. There was a couple attempts at licensing it that just kind of fell by the wayside. They finally did get it licensed. There's plans are referred to, and the license number is on the plan. That's number 2756, and the mileage were recorded in the registry of deeds under the appropriate at the end of Barnstable County. As part of this, so that's basically that you're going to have an improved project here. You're going to have a full 5 feet of, so you can just walk right underneath this pier instead of having to, trip over the step or the low ramp that's there now. So it'll be raised up. We're looking at where the existing on-grade walkway is. It'll go right up over that so that people can walk underneath that area. The decking is a little higher. It does step down, and then the deck height is about 5'8" in the middle from that upper 7'6". We're going to use the same very similar piles. These will be the 15-foot embedded green hearts, no CCA, and the size of the float, 8 by 20. Is going to remain exactly what it is. So no real changes on that. Transitioning over to the coastal bank area there. You'll remember perhaps LD Atchison next door has that property, and she had was dealing with a little bit of erosion, kind of a little bit of an angry scar against the edge there. She installed a soft solution, which is those high density fiber rolls, and they've been holding up fairly well. We know you folks like the soft solutions where possible. This site has a similar amount of erosion on the south, and then it just transitions, and I think it's probably the rock pile and the bump out of the salt marsh and the graduation of the slope to a more reasonable level. The erosion simply stops. So we terminate those coir logs where the erosion stops, and it's been no real issues up on the high marsh and the vegetated area to the north. So we've got the similar detail to what we used on next door. The high density logs put in there with the duckbill anchors, and using stainless steel cabling, and then we'll vegetate over that. And you can see we've chosen a native palette, American beach grass, and so forth. Would like to leave the existing rugosa rose. It's naturalized to the area. It's a great hardy plant, pretty leaves, and people stay away from it naturally because it's extremely prickly. So it keeps people off the resource area. And in my opinion, it's really naturalized to this area, and it's a great plant. It does tend to hold the soils very well as well. So with your permission, we'd like to retain those that are existing, but infill with the other with natives. And that's the extent of this one. It's hopefully a nice little project. I'd love to get going soon on the pier to rebuild it for the season. They're in the queue. And again, the existing license holds for the exact footprint that we've got. Be glad to answer any questions you folks have on this one at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Let me just start off by back with the location of the top of Coastal Bank. Is it supposed to be? It doesn't look like it's supposed to be going along the edge of lawn. It's actually just forward of that, and then sort of blends into the edge of lawn. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. It's of course everything here is below the flood elevation, so it's one of those tiered coastal banks. But yeah, it would be right about the top contour there and transitioning down. So it would basically follow the coir log after the words top of coastal bank. It peters out to less than 10%, or we just call it vegetated bank. So coastal bank proper would be a tiered bank from about the K in bank down to LD's property to the south.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with what you're proposing, but I would think that you should probably consider, since you're already doing soft solutions. So I would think that one of the better things that you could do then would be to add a little bit more of a strip. It doesn't have to be a huge strip of buffer along the top of the bank, and then it going just a little into that lawn. Yeah, right where Kelly's cursor is going right now. I think that would help in terms of, like I said, we're going through the effort of putting in the fiber logs. I think it would just be better and more consistent with that type of strategy to plant a little bit more of a buffer up top.
A little more
remove a little bit of
vegetation
lawn.
that would hold that bank a little better if we ever did get
Right.
the rash. Yeah.
I mean,
think
and
that
I don't
sounds
have an issue
reasonable.
with you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I would have a hard time arguing with your logic there. So if we went from the E in lawn edge and just drew the line straight across to the corner and infilled that area there, like Kelly's pointing, with some hardy vegetation, would be happy to do that. Low growing bayberries and something that'll root in well.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, like I said, I have no issue with you keeping the existing beach, or sorry, the existing Rosa rugosa, but I would ask that if you're filling anything in, especially like if you're along the top, instead of using Rosa rugosa, you might want to switch into pasture rose or Virginia rose, because since they are considered more of, that they're more of our native our native coastal rose. But
Yeah,
like I said, I have no
great
issue with you
suggestion.
leaving the other stuff there.
No, you're sold. I think that's a great suggestion.
All right, that's all I have. Anybody else on the commission?
Well,
Questions?
I do. This is Ellie here.
Yeah.
I'm going to channel Rick. Is there any alternative to the green heart that you can use? That's one thing that we've been looking at in
The,
past.
yeah, well, you know, yeah, do your regulations prohibit the CCA now, or what are we looking at? I'm trying to remember. Is that, you don't like to use those generally?
No.
So,
Like
the
fiberglass piles or,
yeah, we knew that you wouldn't allow the CCA, so the question was, you know, what can we use? Would be happy to make a donation to the Rainforest Fund. We realize that you know, there is some concern over, you know, trees are a renewable resource, but you know, in other countries they don't plant as well as they do with the southern yellow pines, where they commercially harvest them, and another 25 years they harvest it again, another 25 years harvest it again. So we did look a little bit at fiberglass, but the owners and the dock builders' preference, strong preference, was just to kind of use the wooden, natural wooden product of the green heart. So, but would be happy to donate even $500, which would be, you know, hundreds of acres of forest being saved and revegetated down there, as we did on another one. If that would help sway the boards, or just offer that as a reasonable thing that we could all feel a little bit better about. You've got a responsible nonprofit, you know, guarding those forests and doing a lot more good than a dozen green heart trees coming down, in our opinion. So would that be something that you would consider as reasonable?
I'll leave that up to the consideration of the rest of the board. Like I said, I was just channeling Rick there.
Yeah.
And it's a consideration that we've always thrown out there. I have a curiosity question. What is with the rock pile that has a license?
Yeah. I do not know the history of that, but it's been there a long time. Yeah, it's.
I didn't know. I knew it was there. I didn't know it had a license, which is kind of, yeah.
Yeah. It's. I don't know if it had something to do with, you know, shipping back in the day. I'd really be guessing there, or some kind of an anchorage. But yeah.
And my last question, and I can't remember whether this came up when we did the property to the south. Those coir logs will eventually deteriorate. What happens to the steel wire that you're using to anchor them with? Is that going to become exposed and become a hazard? I know it's a couple of years down the line, but that's just another concern.
Yeah. So what we do with those is actually we'll come back and get permission to redo the coir logs, and we'll actually reuse those cables. And that's why we use the stainless, not the galvanized. It's a good quality product that stays there a long time. But yeah, you wouldn't want those just dangling in the wind. Would come back if we say it had some storm damage, and they generally survive, and we just retighten them and seal the new coir logs with them, and in that manner they're reused rather than thrown away or abandoned.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. That's all I have. Ed.
Okay, anybody else? You know, I'm looking at this, the pictures now. Was that cut back? Was that bank vegetation cut back a little bit?
The rugosa rose there, yeah, it looks like it's been trimmed. Yeah, it's yeah.
Okay, I would ask that they stop doing that then too.
Yeah, certainly looks like it was. Yeah, looks like a yucca.
I mean, that's all
plant.
solid. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, the bank is really solid there. So, you know, I mean, I just ask that they stop cutting without permit on the bank there.
Sure, understood. Yeah.
Anybody else on the commission?
Tom.
Okay, yeah, Tom.
I just want to express my appreciation to Ellie for reiterating Rick's concerns. We don't have a regulatory prohibiting aspect for Green Heart. And in that light, perhaps Dan's suggestion is appropriate. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, would be happy to do it. We were good stewards of the environment, and I think that'll balance it out in this case.
I agree. Thank you, Tom. Well said. Anybody else? Kelly, any other comments?
I have just a question. The property next door, I didn't go and look at this closely, and now I wish I had. The general idea is to plant through these, right? And then they become vegetated, and as they deteriorate over time, the vegetation takes hold and the bank is stabilized. And I can see that is, I think, proposed that there's going to be beach grasses planted through this. But the one next door, and then maybe it's just the time of year, doesn't look very well vegetated. And I wonder if that's because it's not being maintained well, and maybe we need to make sure we're including these monitoring reports for this type of project to make sure vegetation is being planted through that and being encouraged to get established, because otherwise these will deteriorate and just leave a gap there. There's nothing to replace it. I think the general idea is supposed to be that the vegetation kind of becomes established and stabilizes it and takes over from the job of the coir logs. So I just kind of noticed that when I was looking at these photos.
Yeah, I agree. We had actually looked at doing a certificate of compliance there, and our suggestion is, while the order's still open, to bring in a little more sand and plantings over there. You can see the storm rack tide does a number on them, and that's the area that gets eroded. But we'll certainly get that upgraded, and they do last longer with a little bit of sand cover over them.
Yeah. And then the other comment that I have is just procedurally checking. We got a DEP file number of 2279 for this. They again were missing the DMF receipt, but I have that. I think what they're expecting is that when you email DMF an electronic copy of the application and copy them, and then they're satisfied that they know that they've been notified. So that seems to be the procedure that works for DEP. But we haven't heard back from DMF. And so I'm just going to double check in case something did come in. So just bear with me.
While Kelly's looking that up, if I may add, what's the story with you have the coir logs and then you have a bunch of hay bales there? Is the new coir logs going to attach to the old ones? What's the purpose of the hay bales?
So what are we talking about here on the plans?
On the last picture that Kelly showed you, there's
the photograph there.
Yeah, right there, where the property marker is. There's a bunch of bales.
I didn't notice that myself. To the extent that they are some straw bales, we'll pull them out of there. If it's a blown out coir log, it would be replaced. But I think it may be some rack material as well there. But we'll check it out and get that cleaned up. Obviously, the asphalt there can get cleaned up too. I see.
Yeah.
We look at a microscope.
Yeah. So it'll be continuous coir all along there.
Yeah, we'll dovetail. We'll stitch it right into that where the bound is, and that'll be a kind of a continuous little, and then it'll phase out, shy of our dock as shown there. But yeah, that's.
I'm just wondering if that's a right of way.
It is, but it's all family owned. That little thing there, yeah, it's part of our property. That little Z shape means that we own both properties. It's just a little relic. Yeah.
Okay. Any news from DMF there, Kelly?
No, there's nothing so far. So I guess we'll have to continue to receive their comments.
Yeah, I think because we can't. Yeah, we have to continue to get any comments. So, is there anybody in the audience on this that has an interest in this one? Raise your hand digitally if you do.
Ed, is there such thing as a continuance contingent upon receipt or approval contingent upon receipt of the DMF letter? I mean,
we can't, well, we can't until because I mean, I think it's going to be a formality, but you know, if there's something, if DMF has some specific comment that we may have to discuss, that would be, so that way, that's why we couldn't just approve it with, you know, waiting for the receipt of the DMF letter. We actually have to respond to whatever DMF, if DMF has any
right, at the
any comments.
time of year requirements, you'd have them right into the order and so forth.
Yeah, so.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I was just hoping because of the schedule to be able to just incorporate whatever they say into the order. But,
yeah, no, there's no way procedurally we can do that with and still stay within the law. So
open meeting law and so forth. Yeah, you'd have to read it in, and yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we'll have any issues once we get the letter. I think it'll close right immediately. So, you know, knock on wood. Maybe I should not. I shouldn't.
Yeah, well, we shouldn't jinx
say,
ourselves, right?
I shouldn't say anything about it because it's,
but again,
a
it's an
surefire
existing pier, and it's just not a ton for them, except time of operations and so forth. Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. All right. So, do I have a motion to continue this to May 6th, 2021?
So moved, David.
Thank you, David. Ellie is the second.
Yep.
All right, Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Aye.
Huggins, Mulhern. Mulhern. You're muted.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
All right. Thank you, Dan. We'll see you next time around for that one.
Sounds great. And we'll get the revised plan in as well. Thank you.
All right. Next order of business is our final notice of intent for the evening. Pamela Justy, 1 Lansing Lane, Yarmouth, Massachusetts. The structural modification to a residence within the buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. And I believe I see Mike Ball out there, right? Thought I saw him out there.
Yep. Here we go.
Okay, Mike, go ahead and unmute yourself, and then you.
Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, good evening. My name is Mike Ball. I'm with Marsh Matters Environmental here in Sandwich. I am working for Pam Justy, who and her husband, they're the applicants, or specifically she's the applicant for this notice of intent. They've got a small house in the neighborhood, kind of that abuts Hyannis Inner Harbor on Lewis Bay. This was a house that was, there it is on the screen there. It was built in circa 1940, 1-story house. And what they're looking to do is just increase living space inside that small house. They've got a galley kitchen and it really could use a little expanding and updating in that house. And so their contractor, John Dixon, who reached out to me for assistance with this. He is going to basically square off the house. So this structure is about 1,470 square feet. They'd be adding with these 3 small additions approximately 730 square feet, most of which is over existing hardscape, should be noted, resulting in a structure that would be roughly 2,200 square feet. The nearest resource areas, as you can see, are land subject to coastal storm flowage as defined by flood zone AE11. And downslope from that is a kind of a thumb of wetland that exists between their house and the house immediately to the west. Basically, as I mentioned, and if you were been to the site or looked at the photos in the notice of intent, you can kind of see where the work is proposed. I tried to kind of sketch out on the photos to give you some idea of what would be altered in the landscape. There we go. And as I mentioned, there we go. Yeah, so if you scroll up a little bit there, those yellow lines kind of identify the approximate limits of the new structure. And yes, in that photo 1, you can see that's the front face of the house. And so you've got a kind of looks like what is like one of those patios where you had flagstones embedded in concrete. So the house would come out over that on the south side. And then photo 2 shows you that northwest corner of the house. And they've got, it looks like a patio there with some plantings. And they're basically going to bring that, enclose that whole area into new living space. And then I don't have a picture, but on the northeast side of the house, there's another small addition over some flagstones near the driveway. I don't have a picture of it, I apologize. So the photos 3 and 4 just kind of show you what the buffer zone currently looks like. Those yellow arrows essentially show where one of my wetland flags is. So, you know, the house is in relatively close proximity to that resource area. It is a BVW associated with a small stream, man-made stream that flows beneath Somerset Road. And somewhere on that slope is the flood zone elevation. And with that, I would like to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Questions from the commission?
This is Ellie, Ed, again.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the northwest addition there, the patio that they're going to enclose on the house, it goes out farther than the patio, which will extend into the 50-foot buffer zone to the BVW. We allow soft sheds and patios, but as far as buildings or additions, we always look at that as a strong line that we kind of hold.
I do notice in your bylaw regulations, if I can quote, it says minor structures such as sheds, decks, and small additions may be allowed closer than 50 feet to resource area, but no closer than 35 feet. That's just from a section of your regulations. I think in this case, we're we're just over that 50-foot buffer zone, but I feel that that amount of structure in your 50, I just don't think there would be any significant impact to that particular resource area. Looking at the interest protected under your bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act, I just don't see there'd be a significant adverse impact to the resource by that intrusion into the 50. And given that your regulations do allow small additions inside the 50, but not within the 35, I think this project is eligible for approval.
I don't remember. Is that grass back there?
It's a combination of yeah. If we find that picture, it looks like there's some yews. There they are, and a little bit of grass. Yeah. So that looks like that was a good picture. That's yes. There we go. So it's basically kind of looks like low quality lawn. The yews, some steps.
Okay, are they going, or are you?
Yeah, they're all gonna go. They're all gonna go.
Okay, you have any proposal for any kind of? I mean, would you offer some new plantings in mitigation for that then?
I mean, I didn't. I think it's probably reasonable to ask. There's not much value in those yews, so I don't see this as an impact. But if we go back to the photos of the buffer zone, there is a slope between their yard and there we go. So you can see they've planted some, it could be arborvitae, I'm not sure, maybe Leland cypress there.
They're arborvitaes.
There are arborvitaes, yep. So maybe, I mean, it looks like they've managed the slope a little bit. Again, I saw this in the winter, so I don't know what it looks like in the spring. I know they have a kind of a knotweed problem on that slope, but I think the juice teas would be willing to plant in that buffer zone, in that 50-foot buffer, maybe on the wetland side of those yews, put in some fruit-bearing native veg, 4, 5, 6 shrubs, if you think that would be adequate to mitigate for Any impacts you're concerned with?
Yeah, I mean, I would be fine with that. I mean, like I said, it's going over the existing patio, so it's not, but it is an intrusion. And I think it would just be a good faith effort that way.
Yeah.
You're saying that the Japanese knotweed is also in that area too, Mike, or?
Yeah, it's down. I mean, this resource area is pretty heavily impacted. I'm not saying there's not natives down there, but there is Japanese knotweed. There's a little bit of gray willow. Obviously, if I were to go back in the summer, I'm a botanist. I'd probably find all kinds of stuff down there. Those are, I believe one of those trees might be a Norway maple. One is an actual red maple, but I can see some benefit to adding some vertical structure in the understory there between those two mature trees in the Leland cypress. If you're requiring mitigation, I think that would be acceptable to the applicant.
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
Okay. Could we, instead of continuing, could we potentially have that conditioned?
Yeah.
Yes, I just don't think it's worthy of a planting plan, but certainly.
Yeah, no. That's fine. We could do that as a special condition on the order.
Thank you.
I just tell Kelly, like, go ahead and do it. Anything else from the commission?
Yeah, this is David.
Yeah, David.
We talked to the owner about moving the abovite, and she had no problems with that.
Oh, with moving, can you be specific which ones?
The ones that are on the screen, right? Yeah, the ones that are on the screen. The abovite.
And she was willing to move those?
Yes.
To what location?
She didn't give a location. We talked about it. Am I right, Kelly?
Yeah, we talked about the fact that the bank and the buffer to the wetland has been cleared, and that the arborvitaes are non-native that have been planted within the buffer as well. And she said she was happy to move. She didn't seem particularly happy with the arborvitaes where they were and the way they were not thriving. So she said that she would be okay to move those.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. They're not really a suitable plant. It looks like they probably planted them maybe to screen the house that's pretty close to the west, maybe just to screen that view. So
to replace the screening that the natural vegetation was providing that was cleared from the bank.
Probably. Yeah, all that greenbrier and right, and Celastris growing up there.
So are they planning on planting something else in its place then?
It was my impression that she would take recommendations to plant something, yes.
I can certainly provide her with the list from the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension, which I typically use with homeowners to kind of give them an idea of good replacement plants. So I'd be happy to do that.
All right, that's fine. That works into it then. I mean, as long as Kelly, are you still happy then? If we approve the plan, but hold issuing the order until you receive that information for what they're planting. And
yeah, I guess there's two things. I'd like to clarify just what the quantity or area requirement is for the mitigation plantings for the encroachment into the 50-foot. And I'd also just want to confirm what the commission wants to see in this area that was cleared, because if there's an issue with the invasives there, then that's going to continue to happen. So there shouldn't be any clearing in that area without approval, and that's not being proposed as part of this notice of intent. So if I don't know if that needs to be added to this notice, that area is going to be managed for invasive species and mitigation plantings are going to go in this area, or whether.
Well, did she do the clearing?
I mean, it sounds like there's ongoing management of the area. She's said at the time that it had been cleared a long time ago, but it is very clear, which means it's probably being managed on an ongoing basis.
Right. Well, I mean, if we're talking about now doing invasive management and restoration planting, then that's
Well, yeah, which is why I'm saying, like, do we want to have mitigation plantings along this kind of top area where the arborvitaes are as a part of this notice? But if they want to do any other work on the bank in terms of vegetation management, that needs to be a separate permit application. But in the meantime, there shouldn't be any more vegetation removal on the bank until such time as they have a permit for it.
Yeah, I can live with that then. Just do the mitigation planting along the top, replacing the arborvitae. Have a special condition that says no cutting on in the buffer without future permit.
And if I might add, you could add to that condition that they're, I'd be happy to, at no cost to them, to just go and monitor it, just that slope area, just to see what invasive species come up. I just want to make sure it's not weed and what else. And I could make recommendations if they want to pursue, if it's a significant intrusion or invasion. I could certainly advise them on how to manage it, and we could come back to you with either an amended order request or a new permit application to do some management, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Kelly, you good with that?
Yes, I just had one other comment about the stormwater. If there are renovations occurring on the house, I would ask that they address the stormwater from the structure, because at the moment there is, I just think I have a photo. There's a stormwater drain that goes into the ground here, and it seems to come out here and go straight down the bank. So I think that should be removed and actually a dry well put in somewhere back further from the bank, just to capture that existing runoff, but also to capture any of the new roof runoff from the addition. So it's a good time to do it if the site's going to be worked on.
Could you condition that 2 dry wells be installed in the northwest and the southwest corner of the new structure?
Yep.
To collect roof runoff? Would that be acceptable?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we might want to receive some sort of a revised plan for that too, showing that. But I think we can go ahead and approve with that condition as well.
May I ask if I don't work in Yarmouth that much, strangely enough, but do you require, like, let's say the town of Sandwich does, an as-built plan be submitted to conservation? Some towns do, some towns don't. I was just curious if at the end, when they're seeking their certificate of compliance, will an as-built be required in addition to your standard request for a COC?
Yeah, typically we don't, unless it was put into the
Yeah, usually it depends on the project.
order.
So and in this instance, I would be recommending it just because we're so close to the setback, and there is an encroachment on the setback. So usually it's a requirement in that case.
Yeah,
No, I'm good with it that way. That's fine.
Now we could show the dry wells as part of the as-built, if that's okay.
And you mean not putting them on the proposed plan, but putting them on the as-built?
Well, I mean, we could submit a proposed plan and, have issuance of the order pending receipt of a revised plan. I'm just trying to avoid a continuance. I know the contractor's really itchy, like most contractors these days, to get started.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with approving an updated plan after the approval's granted, just to include those dry wells in the mitigation area.
Okay.
If the commissioner are okay with that.
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
All right, any other questions from the commission?
So is it a condition of this order that they're going to come back with an inventory and a management plan for the bank, or is that going to be a separate requirement? Or are we just going to say no?
We're going to say no cutting in the buffer
okay.
Beyond the mitigation line, and if they're going to do anything in the future, they'd have to come back either under an amended order or under a new filing.
Okay.
Okay, anybody in the audience who has any comments, questions with this, raise their hand digitally. I see none. Is there any further from the commission? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the plan with the special conditions?
So moved, Pat.
Thank you, Pat. Is there a second?
Second, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Kelly, would you call the roll?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you all very much for your time. Good night.
All right, next order of business, so certificate of compliance. We have two. These are both easy, right, Kelly, if I remember correctly?
No.
No? Oh, sorry. The first one is okay. The other one's not, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance or issue the certificate of compliance for SE 83-53840 for 402 North Dennis Road, Yarmouth, Massachusetts?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you, Ellie, and thank you, David, for seconding. Kelly, would you call the roll?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, next order is a certificate of compliance for SE 83-111, 21 Crest Circle, Yarmouth, Massachusetts, and we do have issues with this.
And I think maybe Kieran is here for this one.
I see him.
I'm just going to share.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
I hear you. Go ahead, Karen.
Good. I just wanted to say to Ed's point, the reason that the last one came up was they were getting ready to sell, so they decided to check all their records to be sure that it was good enough to sell, and that's when they found out that the order conditions from 1984 had not been closed out. On this one here, the house was built back in '77. You can see the site right here. It was a new house with a garage in front. They removed the garage and they built the house on this area. And they built the deck longer than what it was supposed to be, as we mentioned in our request. I believe Kelly has been out to the site. They did get permission for a few trees to be removed out there. And I guess the biggest issue is the area to remain undisturbed. I hadn't caught that, and the Paul Mancuso, who was working with me on this, he was going on my direction, and it's only now that I see to remain undisturbed that I see, and the photograph that went with it, that I see this particular issue. And I apologize to the commission. I just hadn't caught that in my head as I walked the site 3 or 4 different times. So with that, I will listen to the commission.
All right, thank you, Karen. All right, so what are we going to do about this then? So I take the, we don't by any chance have any, because I'm not seeing it. I don't suppose we have any pictures that what it actually looked like at one point.
No, because it's a pretty old order, so the aerials are no use, and there's no photos from the original. My assumption is just that that area was vegetated because it was to remain undisturbed.
Yeah, well, that's certainly not undisturbed. So I think we need to come back with some sort of a restoration plan for that area then.
Yeah, so this shows the deck as well. This is the 8x16 deck, which extends all the way along. I mean, I'm less concerned with that than I am with than having this buffer zone added to restore this area.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean clearly lawn is not undisturbed, so.
And again, I apologize, Mr. Chairman. It was just so clear that I didn't even consider it.
Yeah, no, I get you. But I think we need to rectify it too. So
Yep, I will go back to the owners and I will come up with a plan to get this back together.
Okay.
Sorry, Kieran, typically I would have come back to you guys and let you know, but I only just got to see the site. It's been a little bit busy, so usually I give you a heads up on these things.
No, I get it. I understand.
Sometimes these things happen, folks. Not a, it's a little bit of a hiccup, that's all.
So I guess the question procedurally is whether the COC is denied at this point or continued, given that, there's a fairly significant amount of work to be done to restore that area. At this point, I would say the best course of action is to deny and then ask them to reapply for a COC once the work is, once the site's been improved.
Yeah, I think that would be I think that's the only sound strategy. Unless anybody has any other concerns. You good with that then, Karen? You'll be able to you'll talk to the homeowner and come up with a plan.
Yes. The only thing I would ask is that obviously a portion of the deck is within that area that was to be remain undisturbed. Could we have a certain distance around the deck just to maintain and walk around it to, so I can give them some direction? We'll say like 5 feet or 6 feet, just so we can get around the house.
So the deck comes out to about this point here.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to give, for a standard path, we usually say 4 feet. So can you live with 4 feet as a general path right around it?
I can, as long as the commission may be okay with the smaller vegetation nearer the pathway. And
yeah.
the vegetation back towards the wetland.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that would be, I will go back to my clients with that, and I fully understand the commission's position, and I will go back and let them know what's going on.
So okay. Would you be providing a planting plan to me for, or are you just going to go ahead and have the area vegetated and then reapply for a COC? What would be the plan for moving forward?
I think we would like to run it by you, Kelly. Maybe not necessarily the board at this stage, and the commission at this stage, but we definitely want to have your approval before we spend the kind of money it's going to take to put this back together.
Okay.
I would recommend that highly. Okay, we're all set with that then, folks?
Yep.
All right, so are they withdrawing? Are there, no, I guess we have to deny it, right?
Motion to deny.
Yep.
So
I make a motion that we deny the COC until the area is rectified.
All right, is there a second?
Second, David.
All right, actually we're supposed to say this in the opposite, but that's we're not going to worry about it. Okay, Kelly, would you call the roll?
Oh, I got you.
Durkin.
Aye.
Bernstein.
Aye.
Lawrence.
Aye.
Hoops.
Aye.
Huggins.
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion to deny passes 6-0.
All right, thank you, Karen.
Thank you for your time, commissioners. Thank you.
All right, next order of business is a request for an extension for SE 83-21578 Janner Way, Yarmouth, Massachusetts. Do we have anybody for this, Kelly, or are you just?
Yes, we have Chris May in the audience. Made him sit through all of that. I'm sorry.
Good evening, I'm here.
Hi, Chris, go ahead. You want to just state your name for the record and then just briefly describe what's going on?
Yes, my name is Christopher May for the property at 8 Janner Way. My wife and I purchased this property in the fall of 2019 with the existing order of conditions in place. At this time, while we do intend to build and join the community of Yarmouth, we're not ready yet. We would like to have an extension so that we have more time to plan, get past COVID, and have a good application for you in the future.
Okay, so you're looking for it's 2 years, right?
I was asking for 3 if that's possible. I believe it's between 2 and 3 from what I've read, if that's
Yeah,
correct.
so if you, right now you have natural heritage, there's natural heritage issues that are going on with this. And so they do a 5-year permit. So
Yes.
if we give you 2, that will coincide with the expiration of the natural heritage permit. If we give you 3, that's great, but then you would still have to go back and reapply to natural heritage.
Yeah, I understand. That makes perfect sense.
Okay, so you're good with the 2 then?
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay. Kelly, any other comments or questions with it?
Nope, I have no comments or questions.
All right, nobody in the audience, right?
Nope.
So would somebody like to make a motion to issue an extension for 2 years for SE 83-2157 8 Janner Way, Yarmouth?
So moved, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
Second, Ellie.
Thank you, Ellie. Kelly, would you call the roll?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Have a good evening.
All right, then finally we have is this correct? We have a violation. I'm looking at the old agenda, so.
Yes, we have 205 South Street.
205 South Street.
So I'll just allow Judy Hoyle to speak in the audience. And
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, Judy. Hold on for just a minute. I'm going to go to Kelly first and let her explain what's going on, and then we'll hear from you, okay?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, so this one's 205 South Street, so the end of South Street opposite Smuggler's Beach on Run Pond. And there was some work that went on without a permit here, so just increasing some hardscape. I'm afraid I was too busy talking and forgot to take additional photos for you when I was on site. So this is a photo from a distance that just shows some of the new hardscape that was put in. And I've just marked it up on this these images so you can see this. There's a deck that wraps around here, and then there's.
Excuse me, Kelly, I can't see anything.
You need to share your screen, Kelly.
I'm sorry. I thought I had.
It was beautiful in my mind's eye, but
It's getting late.
It is getting late. Certainly. Okay, can you see that?
there you go.
So that's how
Okay,
it
it all
works.
becomes clear. So this was the photo I took from a distance. There was some new hardscape that was added, a pathway and some patio out to the side of the house. And also there's existing patio. You can see my cursor okay, yeah? There's existing patio here, which was extended out in line with the existing deck. And that's shown again in this image here. Plus this was the extended patio out the side of the house and a pathway. Obviously this is all very close to the wetland resource area, so well within the 35-foot, and it is all a concrete base patio, so it's certainly impervious surface. So I did meet with the property owners on site to discuss the violation and how that could be resolved. There's also some sod that was removed, I think, from these areas where they were added, and it was placed along the edge of the wetlands. So I'd asked that that be removed. And so I guess the options are that they be asked to remove this hardscape. The alternative to that, which I am recommending, is that some mitigation plantings be added, that the sod be removed and mitigation plantings be added in the buffer zone to create a better buffer between the wetland resource area and the developed part of the property. There's also 2 old orders of conditions that are open from on this property, which I just found when I was reviewing the file for this hearing. So my recommendation would be for a 3-to-1 buffer zone plantings to the expanded hardscape.
Ellie, I have a question for you.
Sure.
It's going to be a hard one. When was that patio put in? Before they put the addition on?
Oh, different.
Do you know?
The original patio?
Yeah.
No, I saw it marked on the previous plans.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. Can have a look and
Okay, Judy, do you have any questions right now, or do you want us to go to questions and then
I just, appreciate your time. We really love our spot. We, didn't really realize that we were doing anything incorrectly. I apologize. And happy to do any mitigation or anything that you would recommend for us to do to
Okay.
alleviate.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I want to wait until she finds that plan.
trying to think which where's this one? This one's not very clear, but I think this isn't. So it's this area here.
Okay, when was that?
1988. I don't know if this, I mean, it's not actually marked as patio, it's just marked as, and it may, I don't know, it's not very clear on here that maybe this is all proposed addition but I think this was the addition that was outside here.
Right.
So actually this may be just the hay bale line. So maybe there was nothing.
Yeah.
But it
No,
doesn't, sometimes these plans, they show the structure, they don't show the accessories, they don't show the deck and things on some of these. So do you have information that you think that
No, I remember that addition being put on, but I don't remember the deck being back there when I roofed the house years ago. That could have changed.
The deck was there when we bought it. We placed it exactly the way it was.
When did you buy it, Judy?
7 years ago.
About 7 years ago.
Yeah, so we
Okay.
had a permit for the deck rebuild, so obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
The old one had a jib tub on it. We did away with that.
Yeah.
The old deck. Yeah, had a jib tub on it. Oh, you don't want
Okay. Any other questions from the commission?
Yeah, Ed.
Yeah, Paul?
Yeah, I just might have missed something. So the concrete was poured without permit, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Just that's 5 feet.
5 by 15.
Wasn't there a walkway to the tennis court?
And yes, on the other side, but we did that. Yeah.
So the contractor didn't have any notion that you needed permits for this stuff?
No, I know. I wish I knew.
Yeah, we would have filed. We're filing for.
We filed to remove trees. We filed for everything that we've done on the property. I just bad choice by us, I guess.
And I'm sorry, what year was that when that work was done?
Which the decking and the deck and everything?
The concrete work.
2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago.
Well, the expanded patio is just done in the last few weeks because that's what prompted this.
In the last 2 weeks?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what prompted this violation, yeah.
Right.
And the concrete was poured 2 years ago, and that's replacement of the deck, correct?
No, the side. Kelly, I'll let you explain.
Well, I'm not sure about that because, let me have a look, because it's not shown in this aerial image, and I thought that was less than 2 years old, but I could be wrong.
It could be. I don't remember how long ago we did it. Are you
Yeah, I
talking
mean,
about
it
the
looks,
tennis court side?
yeah, on the tennis court side.
About a year and a half ago.
Okay, so it's all relatively new.
Well, I'm just asking about the replacement of the deck because they went from deck to the concrete, correct?
No, the deck is still there.
The deck's still there. It's just the concrete. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was all concrete. Okay.
Not wood deck.
So Ed.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, the troubling thing about this, I don't know what the rest of the commission thinks, but so sometimes it appears that, okay, we do the work, we pour concrete, something that would more than likely never be approved by this commission. And then the answer to the problem is, well, let's do a 3-to-1 mitigation. And it's just so relatively common that there's this kind of, I don't know if it's a strategy or what it is. I really sometimes have a hard time believing, unfortunately, that folks don't know about this, that permits are required, that pervious patios are the way to go today, and so on and so forth. It just seems to be so troubling that this tends to happen. And again, you know, I'm not sure what the motion will be in this instance, but it's really bothersome.
So I guess just to clarify from my point of view with recommending the mitigation, I've had another violation in the last week where there was a pathway put in, which I've actually requested them to remove immediately. But the circumstances are a little different because that pathway was like right along the edge of a wetland.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this expanded patio it's no further seaward than the existing footprint. So that's why my recommendation is in this instance is that maybe the commission would have approved this.
I see.
Yeah, I think so.
But with mitigation, they probably would have approved it. They probably wouldn't have approved it without mitigation. So I kind of look at it in that respect. Is this something the commission would have approved with mitigation, or would they just not have approved it, in which case it would have to come out? So that was kind of the call I made in this instance. And every one of these is different. So
Well, I appreciate that, Kelly. Do you think the commission would approve a concrete patio?
With mitigation.
Yeah, okay.
Well, typically
with
they're
mitigation.
pervious patios. I guess
Yeah.
that is a distinction that typically.
We would,
would be
yeah, we would
pervious
ask
patio.
that.
Purpose.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
How close is the concrete to the wetland there? Is it within the 35 feet?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What would you say, 15 feet?
It's kind of hard to say because I think that this is a little bit off. I think maybe the line is a little bit further back. But let me see. Maybe about 15 feet.
So we would have asked for a pervious on that. And are they cutting the lawn all the way down to the BVW?
Yes.
So you're saying that sod, but that's what you're saying. Some of that sod would be removed. Is that right, Kelly? That's what you're.
Well,
you're
no,
saying?
the sod that's there is the sod that was removed to put the patio in. So it's been put there as part of this violation. It was removed from the footprint of the new patio and it was put on the edge of the wetland.
But that would be getting this. So that's not what we're saying.
No, that's separate. I'm just asking for
closer.
that sod to be removed because it's just been dumped on the edge of the wetland.
Okay.
But then there would be buffer plantings that should be put in.
Okay, and you've done other filings with the commission before, right?
Pardon me?
You've done other filings with the commission?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We did the tennis court and we fenced and we did a vistascape, I think, too, like pruning, I think.
Okay. I mean, well, I'm sorry, Paul, did you have any further questions? I sort of jumped in there, but.
Oh, no, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? I mean, I personally would say we should, I would recommend that we just ratify the enforcement order that as Kelly has written it. I would also suggest then a $200 fine be issued to the homeowners as well.
That's, thank you very much for,
But is that also with mitigation?
yes.
Yeah, the enforcement order includes a 3-to-1 mitigation, so.
All right.
And the addition or the removal of the sod from the wetland area.
I'm sorry that the cleaners came in and started hoovering, so I kind of missed that. It was an enforcement order with 3-to-1 mitigation, removal of the sod, and did you say a fine?
Yeah, $200.
$200 fine. Okay, great, thank you.
Unless anybody has anything else.
I agree with you, Ed.
All right.
And a completion date of June 1st.
What time was it? Yeah, June 1st, I think is good. I would, are you going to need a plan too with this, or?
I would just need a
Sketch plan?
a sketch planting plan.
Okay.
You
Yep,
got it.
that's fine.
Thank you.
So you should probably get this, you should probably have the sketch plan, a due date
Yes.
for the sketch plan of May 1st and plantings by June 1st then.
And would we be doing any monitoring to see how the plants do? For 2 years.
Yeah, dude, I would say I would do at least 2 years.
Okay.
Do October by the end of October of what 2021 and 2022.
Okay, and then just a reminder to the property owner that there are 2 outstanding orders of conditions that are open for the property. So if you were proposing to file, well, it's a violation to have them open anyway, but if you were planning on filing any other permit applications, which I understand that you are,
Yeah.
that those would need to be closed out with a certificate of compliance before you could get any new permits.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they were
Yeah,
open.
they're like super old ones, which I found in the file. SE 83-4, so our
Oh,
4th permit
wow.
was issued, and 896. So those are available online if you want to take a look at those, or I can send you a copy.
You could send me a copy. That would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
And Kelly, I would just add that to your enforcement order that the COCs have to be filed for by, give them 4 months or something like that.
Okay.
Or prior to any other filing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. If nothing else, then would somebody like to make a motion to ratify the enforcement order as
Proposed.
written with the additions?
So moved, Ellie.
Thank you, Ellie. Is there a second?
Second, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Kelly, would you call the roll?
Durkin,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Hoops,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Mulhern.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you for all your
Alright.
time.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask one more thing?
Sure.
Would you like us to have an engineer lay out these plantings?
The surveyor.
No, you just have to,
We're gonna put in there and put it on like paper, like what particular plants or whatever.
for the planting, you just need to do a sketch plan. So, use one of your plot plans that you have. You can just sort of hand draw that in as to
Okay.
what kind of
Plants.
And
Right.
you need to make sure that you're adhering to the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension Service list of native plants.
Okay, that's good.
So we'll look into it.
Okay,
All
and
right,
then make
thank
sure
you.
you're paying attention to their planting, because they tell you what the planting spacing is and all that sort of thing.
Okay, all right, we'll do that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's see, next order of business, other business approval meeting minutes for April 1st, 2021.
Yeah, I apologize. I only got those out this afternoon, so I assume people haven't.
I had a chance to review them if others are in accord.
Such a rock
I
star.
read them.
I read them too.
Look at you guys go.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept them as written. How's that?
Wonderful.
Thank you, Tom.
Second.
I approve of that. Thank you. Was that David?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Kelly, would you call the roll?
Bernstein,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Mulhern,
Aye.
Durkin,
Aye.
Hoops.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Okay.
Ed?
Tom. Yep.
Yeah, I have two points. One, Kelly, have you heard anything about Rick Bishop's condition?
Yeah, he's doing well. He's recovering, so he thinks he'll be back with us in May.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, the second point was in the Cape Cod Times today, they talked about $118 million zero interest loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. And the 8 towns that were mentioned, Yarmouth was not mentioned in there. Did you hear anything about that at town hall?
Me? No, I was hoping maybe as a representative of the wastewater committee, you might have an update on that. I haven't heard anything about that. I did hear it on the news.
I'm at a loss. I mean, we've got Mashpee, Barnstable, Oaks Bluffs, you know, everybody under the sun. We've also got 2.3 million for planning projects. I just hope that, you know, the Yarmouth was fortunate enough to get in on that.
I wonder, is it maybe related to the status of our agreement with the other towns, that hasn't been finalized enough to move forward with?
That's entirely possible, and the fact that the other towns are not bringing up the Dennis Yarmouth plan, which has put Yarmouth in an extremely difficult position, whereby we may be forced to go alone with the treatment plant as well as the sewer laying and all of that. We're in kind of tough shape right now.
Yes.
That's all I got. If I got any updates, I'll let you know.
I have to agree with you, Tom. That was the first thing that went through my mind, and how we're gonna, because they're gonna redo 28, and once they redo 28, we can't dig it up for
5 years.
Yeah.
And you know, if it's an open trench, why don't we just drop the pipes in? You know,
be cheaper in the long run for us. But
save us millions. Yeah. A lot of it is contingent upon what Dennis and Howard do. Howard is fine. I mean, they don't have a major problem, but Dennis needs the treatment plant. Why should we build two, Yarmouth and Dennis? It just doesn't make any sense. But Dennis is hesitant to bring it up to their town meeting and appropriate the money. If they are hesitant, Yarmouth is still on the fence.
Right. Right.
Fine kettle of fish.
It's not a good one, Ed.
No, no, it's not. I think you summed it all up on that one.
So we'll see what happens.
All right. Anybody else for other business? Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, just because Greenheart came up tonight, could somebody point me to some information so that I could know a little bit more about that? I tried to kind of look for more specific information again on Greenheart. I just like to know a little bit more. So if somebody has a suggestion as far as where I can go, what I can read concerning Greenheart, I'd appreciate it.
I don't have anything. Do you have anything, Kelly, that you know of?
No, I can have a look. I'm sure Rick does. But,
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I'll take a look and see if I have anything.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to throw a monkey wrench in the works there, but I just was sort of channeling Rick at that point.
Well, it's most appropriate, Ellie. Most appropriate.
When I saw that, when I was looking things over, he's the first person I thought of. But then I thought, well, gee, maybe I should know a little bit more about Greenheart. You know, I'm sure he does, and I just.
But yeah, it's funny. I get
I
get very mixed response from people when I bring up like some contractors are totally fine with fiberglass and as an alternative.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it's just that they need to be pushed to do it.
So the quick things I read were just description of what Greenheart is, where it comes from, and so on and so forth. You know, I couldn't find much more. So, but I'll look, and if you have something, if you could send it along to me, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, I think what it is most of the dock builders here are of the old school, and they much rather just, you know, use the wood pilings instead of something new and improved, because that's what they've been doing for years. You know, it's
I am starting to see more fiberglass poles though. But where was I? I was just over in or was it like Chatham or Harwich, right around there somewhere. That I just saw a brand new dock went in with the fiberglass monopole, and looks nice, works.
They're like really dense. I mean, it must be really incredibly tough fiberglass, right? I guess
They're more expensive, I think, than the regular piles by I think probably significantly more. I mean, I think it's like 30% more.
I see. Okay.
And they also have a tendency, if you hit a rock, from what I've been
Shatter.
told, they're very good at splitting right down, right down the length, and
Yeah.
which means you throw the whole thing away and you've eaten however many hundreds or thousands of dollars that the pole is. So
Yeah. Okay.
but there's certainly places where you can use them. I think they're conducive to using them. Yeah, maybe not on the north side, but that's not our problem really. But
yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
I just have one
Kelly,
request. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
Just I'm out the next week for a school vacation, and I have somebody who had wanted a pre-construction site visit at that 2 Channel Point Drive on Wednesday. They weren't able to have the site prepped enough for me to go out there tomorrow. So I can ask at this end if someone from building could do it on Wednesday, but I just wanted to throw it out in case anyone wanted to give it a go. It's basically you just go out and review the work before they start, make sure they've got their erosion control in and their permit sign up, and that they have a copy of the order of conditions on site and get their contact details. So if anyone's interested, then let me know. Otherwise, I'll see if someone from building can do it for me.
Well, I can do that if it's in the morning and not raining. But yeah,
said
at least
they'd be
you're not
ready
going
by,
out in the rain tomorrow or the snow or whatever we're getting.
They said they'd be ready by midday on Wednesday if but
okay. Yeah, I work,
Well, let me know what time it is, and I'll be able to. I'll try and work something out.
yeah, I got to do moorings noon to 3. So if they can do it early, have it all set up earlier than that, I can do it on my way in.
Okay.
But just let me know.
Okay.
And Kelly, I didn't know you were going to school. You have school vacation?
Members of my family have school vacation.
I know.
Kelly, I appreciate you using the word hoovering earlier. It brought me back to my year living in England. I appreciate that. I don't know if anybody else understood what you were even talking about.
Oh, I knew what she was talking about.
We
I have one
understand
in
what
my
she said.
head.
We just don't encourage that kind of language in here. You know, that's all.
When this gets over, Kelly and I are going out for tea, right, Kelly?
That's
high
right.
High tea.
Yep. High tea, afternoon tea.
Anything? Did you already talk to them about the plans? Where the idea of possibly switching the plans only hard copy?
Oh, we mentioned that at the beginning. In an effort to try and reduce our paper waste, we thought a good place to start was to just require paper plans and everything else, all the other application material just to be electronic. You have the links in the agenda, which takes you to the electronic copies of the notice. So if you're okay with using that and then just being provided with a paper plan, then that will save us a little bit of paper. Ideally, it'd be great to be able to switch fully electronic, but I know it's difficult with the plans.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Very good.
But Kelly, if you want to send me the plans, you can, because my husband was able to con his work into getting him a big plotter for all his stuff. So I can just have him work it off of that and have his work pay for it.
You're going to print it out for everybody there, Ellie?
Yeah. But that doesn't really reduce the paper, does it?
Well, it's just my paper, but it is very hard to read the plans on the
Yeah.
electronic.
I've got
it's very difficult.
a new large screen in my office so that I can work off plans in the office off the screen. So that's good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but we still are required to have the paper copy anyway under the regulations for the applications.
Speaking of that, I think David had mentioned earlier in the beginning of the meeting that he's giving the solar farm, for lack of a workshop road stuff back to you. Would you like all that back?
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to pass those back to me, I'll offer them back to the contractor in case they can make use of them for the rest of their permitting.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
So how can we drop those off anyway?
You could bundle them up and just put a Post-it note and put them in the Dropbox.
Okay.
Or, otherwise it's going to be a little while before we do another packet because we don't have a deadline until next week in a meeting. We've got an extra week, so we got 3 weeks between the meetings.
All right. It'll take me a while to fold them all back up. but-
It's like those old road maps. You
Old
can't
road
figure out how to
maps.
fold them. I've been having a hard time trying to fold my GPS up, but
I bet you tried.
All right,
I
thank you.
did. David, did you get the email with the Excel sheet of?
Yes, I did. I haven't
Okay.
figured out if you want me to add mine to it, I might.
No,
have to-
I was just sending it to you as a information that's how I sort of set it up. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
how you want to set it up.
No, I just
or
made a
if you wanna
list.
Add
and-
something.
I just made a list and sent it off to Kelly with some pictures. And this for those who, last time you gave Ellie and I some homework to look at town ways to water. One of which is impossible to get to the water, but that I was looking at, but the others are. Anyway, I sent pictures and everything to Kelly, and I'm sure she'll deal with it when we have time to deal with it, right, Kelly?
That is right. I will definitely get onto that one.
You did better than me. I didn't take pictures, but I do know there's a couple that I can't get down to the water on.
Yeah. Some that people are putting things on, you know, and overgrown, and their boats are just lying there.
Yeah. A whole nother discussion. So, yeah.
All right, anything else? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I
So
make a
moved.
motion-
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you,
Gotta be
Ellie.
fast, Ellie.
Kelly, would you call a
You
roll?
are fast.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Huggins,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Mulhern,
Aye.
Durkin,
Aye.
Hoops.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0 to adjourn at
7:48.
7:48. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Kelly.
everybody. Have a
Thank you,
great
everybody.
vacation,
Take care.
Kelly.
Yeah, have a good vacation.